Hello, beautiful people. Hello, Gilberto. Hello, Samarta. Hello, everyone watching us live right now. We have no idea what's going to happen today because we are live. So we are open for your comments. We are open for any surprises that might happen. But let me start with introductions. First of all, I'm Felipe Hoffa, developer advocate at Snowflake. I've been here for almost 3 years and it has been amazing. And today I have two incredible guests. Uh, Samartha Chandrasekhar, PM at Snowflake. He manages PMs. Hi, Samartha. How are you doing today?
Hello, Felipe. I'm feeling great. How about yourself?
I'm feeling great too. Where are you today?
I am in Bellevue, Washington.
Washington, Bellevue. We have an office there. And what do you have for us today, Samartha?
Certainly. So, today, what I have is an overview of our cost governance and workload optimization story, as well as sort of a collection of best practices that customers can actually put to use right now to start optimizing their spend on Snowflake.
Cost optimization, that's something a lot of our customers care about. And I love showing them that we care about this and we are all together and we're all trying to make it better for everyone. And today we also have here Gilberto Hernandez, fellow developer advocate at Snowflake. How are you doing, Gilberto?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you doing, Felipe?
I'm super good seeing everyone that's saying hi. It's Kamala Kanan,
Yeah,
Srivina Tulu,
welcome.
Deepa, Shang, Rakesh, Sridhar. Where are you today, Gilberto?
I am in sunny Central Texas, Austin, Texas.
Sunny Central Texas, and I'm in
Yeah.
San Mateo, and I love to see Philip is saying hi from Las Vegas. And we are ready to do this. We are going to talk about costs. What do you have for us today, Gilberto?
Yeah, absolutely. So, thank you everyone for joining today. Really excited to chat about cost optimization. I recently published a blog post on the Snowflake Medium publication. It's called Five Practical Things That You Can Do Today to Manage and Optimize Costs in Your Snowflake Deployment. And so that's kind of what I wanted to share with folks. Um, we will, yeah. So there you go, Felipe is sharing it on the screen. Thank you so much. I'll do like a super quick just summary of the five main points and also maybe some context behind this, right? So if you
Yeah,
Google
so I
today, yeah,
yes,
go ahead.
just to remind people, we're here live. So if anyone has any questions about these points, uh, ask us your questions. We're here to answer your questions. Gilberto is the author of this blog post, and Samantha is leading how Snowflake evolves and develops all these features. So we're going to get these messages straight from the best sources we have, and we want your questions. So, what's your summary of this post?
Yeah, absolutely. If you Google today, Snowflake cost optimization, you're going to get a ton of awesome results on content on how to do this in Snowflake. And so, what I wanted to do here is for folks who may be overwhelmed by all the cool content they see out there, or they don't have maybe a way of quickly getting started, I want to take a very practical look at how to do this in your Snowflake account today. So, the five things that you can do today to kind of get some more momentum and proactively start monitoring and defending against cost in your Snowflake deployment. Number one, making sure that you're configuring your auto suspend and auto resume policies. And this is specifically referring to virtual warehouses, which typically make up the largest portion of your monthly spend. But make sure that these policies are properly set so that warehouses aren't running when they're not supposed to, and that they do run when you want them to run.
Yeah,
Um,
we have
yeah, go ahead.
defaults, but I like that people can configure their defaults. And
Yeah.
I'm glad that you share here the code to do this.
Yeah, the
Number
neat thing
two,
about this blog
go
post
for it.
is there are code snippets for all of these things too. So if you want to try it out today,
Yes.
you can. The second thing is making sure you're keeping an eye out on warehouses or workloads that may be approaching cloud services billing or the threshold for that. And so we get a lot of questions on what exactly is cloud service billing. And so that typically refers to the compute that's used to perform all sorts of services like user requests, query displays, the show command, querying the results cache, and the key thing to keep in mind here is that the accounts are only charged if cloud services operations make up more than 10% of a warehouse's daily compute. So this is very rare, but still keep an eye on this. And here's a query too that you can use to help monitor whether or not you're approaching that threshold. So that's number
Yeah.
two.
Number three.
Number three is making sure that you are setting statement timeouts for accounts and warehouses. So you can set statement timeouts at the account level or at the warehouse level. You just want to make sure you don't have certain accounts or warehouse where you have very long queries running that could, of course, drive up your spend.
Yeah, that's an important one. Like the default is 48 hours. People usually want to change it. Some people love it, but why
Yeah,
not change it if you are not sure?
exactly.
And you can do it at the account level.
Yeah. So
Uh-huh.
let's move on to number four. This one is pretty straightforward. It's more about purging dormant users. Uh, you can define what dormant means to you. In this example, I'm using, they haven't logged in or no activity in the last 30 days.
Mhm.
These accounts can drive up costs, of course. So if they're not using Snowflake, there's no need to persist Snowflake access to these dormant user accounts. And there's a query as well to kind of take a look at users or user accounts have never logged in or stale users.
Yeah, this is a really good practice for security too. And number five, before we go to Samantha, to just get the full picture of why we're doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. So last but definitely not least is making sure you are dropping unused tables. So tables are part of the storage portion of the billing model, but you shouldn't have to pay storage fees for, or you shouldn't be paying storage fees for tables that you're not using. So here's a really neat query that will let you see all unused tables by size, return the last DML operation on a specific object, also return the number of queries that include on a given table. So in the last 90 days, that's for this example. Of course, you can modify it based on your own threshold. But
Yeah.
another important thing that you should consider doing.
Yeah, I love this table that shows what queries have used what tables, and you can determine what you're being used.
Mhm.
Thank you, Gilberto, for this. People can check the link here. Kamala Kanan shared it already on the chat. And let's talk about a little bit about Summit, because now we have all these videos available. Some are available on our YouTube channel, some are available in our developers YouTube channel, and some are available on the on-demand side. And this is where you can find Samarta's talk. Best practices for Snowflake native cost optimization capabilities. This was a great talk at Summary. You can watch it on your own time. But we have Samartha here, so let's hear from him. Samartha, what can you tell
Certainly.
us?
First of all, great to be here, and thank you, Gilberto, for that blog post. Let me actually frame a little bit, in terms of the content that Gilberto went over. Um, and before even we get into things that you can do, I think it's important to call out that at Snowflake we're deeply committed to ensuring that customers get the best value for what they spend, and we are doing things behind the scenes to improve costs and sort of the value for money without customers having to do any work. So, on an ongoing basis, we're always making transparent platform improvements that deliver value without you having to do anything. You don't even have to opt in into it. These could be us changing sort of what VMs queue we use. These could be updates to our compiler. These could be updates to our SQL runtime. These could be updates to sort of how we partition resources for Python and SQL processing. They're happening on the same warehouse. There's a long laundry list of this. And for the first time, we've also announced this thing called a Snowflake Performance Index, which allows us to quantify the benefits of these transparent improvements that we're landing. And at Summit we shared that if you looked at sort of the time duration from August of 2022 to roughly end of April, there was a 15% reduction, which mean in terms of the average time it took the same query to run, which means that the value of a Snowflake credit is always going up. It's like like there's inflation in the real world. There's deflation here, which is the
Yes.
value of a credit is actually going up on the daily with every update. Now, so that is, I mean, that's I think an
The price
important
is
thing to
going
call
down
out.
and value is going up.
Exactly. And I think that is an important thing that is somewhat missed. In addition to that, there are things that you can do to help optimize your Snowflake spend, and I think that is the context of this discussion and Gilberto's blog post and a whole bunch of other material that we have out there. But I think the most important thing that I do want to drive home is that without you doing any work, we are behind the scenes optimizing workloads for you, and the value of a Snowflake credit is on a constant uptrend. Now, having said that, um, I think there are a few things that I wanted to share in terms of guidance for our customers, in terms of things that you can do to better optimize your spend on Snowflake. And for that, I'm going to quickly share my screen to
Uh-huh.
share some best practices. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share some best practices and talk about specific Snowflake capabilities that can help you actualize these best practices. The first thing that we recommend is to
I don't have your screen, Samantha.
oh,
I think you were
let
sharing
me
it earlier, but somehow it disappeared.
let me fix that.
Thank you. But yeah, no, I love having people here that are already asking questions. We will try to save as much time at the end for these questions, but if you
Sounds
need
good.
anything,
Can you confirm that you can see my screen, folks?
yes, we can all see your screen right now. Best
All right.
practices.
All right. So the four best practices that we endorse are, the first one is to institute some sort of a regime that allows you to get full visibility into your spend, and also implement either a chargeback or a showback mechanism. And I'll talk about capabilities that we've put out that will enable this, including sort of per job cost. So what we ideally recommend is that you look at sort of your spend, or at a contract level, at an organization level, at an account level, at a per warehouse level, per user level, and most importantly, in a per job level as well. And we have capabilities that allow you to do that, and I'll talk about that. The second recommendation
Yeah.
is
No, I just have to say it's super cool that we are going to help people with the per job cost.
certainly,
Like,
certainly, it is an announcement that we made at Summit. This is the capability that we pre-announced. You will now be able to attribute uh, the credit footprint of a warehouse to the individual jobs that run on that warehouse. Now, this does come with a quantization principle that the sum of all the components will add up to sort of the credit footprint of that warehouse over that same period of time. And happy to get into that and a bunch of things around warehouse utilization, etc., in due course. The second thing that we recommend is to have a system where you're able to proactively budget and alert based on your spend, and alert and generate notifications, not just when you've breached your budget, but also based on your current burn rate in terms of what your trajectory looks like in terms of you hitting your budget limit. And for that, we announced at Summit a capability that's called budgets in public preview, which is coming soon. And what this allows you to do is you can set a spending limit for your account or for a custom grouping of resources. So you can say warehouse X, and table Y, etc., and group them into a custom budget to which you can attach a credit limit, and then
so
you can get proactive alerts based on not just when the budget is reached in terms of you actually spending that much, but also based on how you're trending towards that. Sorry, Felipe,
yeah,
you had a question.
I love also because something that people should set up as soon as they get their Snowflake account is these alerts that we have already of
That is
how
true.
much you're consuming. But now you are announcing how this is growing for to have budgets, to see trends. That's really, really cool.
Yeah, this is a feature that we've pre-announced in public preview. What you see here is a screenshot on the right hand side, where you will be able to set a spending limit not just at an account level, but also on a custom grouping of credit consuming resources, and set notifications for not just when that threshold is breached, but also based on how you're trending towards that. So you can have a daily email, for example, that says, "Hey, based on the current burn rate that you're at, you are on course to exceed your budget," and that can help inform downstream decisions in terms of either raising your budget, or in terms of scaling back usage, or in terms of optimizing usage to ensure you're getting the best bang for your buck.
Beautiful. Getting smarter. I love it.
Yeah. The third thing that we recommend is a segmentation of your workloads based on the return on investment. Now, there are some part of it where we can contribute, and there are some parts of it that are subjective, and you as customers are best positioned to make that decision. In terms of, we can give you a granular breakdown of spend, but in terms of the return that you're getting on that investment or on your spend on Snowflake, in terms of how it moves the needle for your business, it is you folks who are the best judge of that. But our recommendation is to segment your workloads based on the ROI that it's unlocking for you, and then use that as a guide to to get further investment. So you might want to make informed decisions based on either whether you want to re-architect some workloads, or you want to decrease or increase the usage of certain workloads, or in rare cases, if it isn't unlocking enough return on investment for you, to potentially even retire those workloads. And that is the guidance that we have. And to help
Yeah.
with this, one of the things that we've started doing is we're showing metrics and data in Snowflake that doesn't just appeal to Snowflake practitioners, but also to finance personas in terms of, hey, what's the remaining daily credit balance? What's my spend in a currency, in a fiat currency, as opposed to Snowflake credits, and so on. So you can have Snowflake practitioners work with finance personas to implement the scheme that is now being called FinOps, and have regimented workflows based on that allow you to make informed decisions based on the return on investment that you're getting out of your Snowflake workloads. Felipe, you had a question.
I just find it beautiful. And it sounds a lot like Marie Kondo. Like, does this workload bring you joy?
Yep.
Does this workload bring you ROI? That's the ones you keep. That's the ones you, and the ability to visualize it and make it very clear. It's an amazing development. Thank you for that.
No, certainly. And lastly, the other recommendation that we have is to, again, incorporate some sort of a regime where not every Snowflake user has the ability to make uh, changes to credit consumption, in the sense that things like spinning up new warehouses, changing the size of a warehouse, changing the number of clusters associated with the warehouse, changing the scaling policy of a warehouse, etc. These are all credit consuming operations. What we recommend, especially for mature Snowflake use cases or deployments, especially where there's a central team involved, is to have a granular scheme where you have full control over who's capable of performing these credit consuming operations. And we have a whole bunch of role-based access controls and a bunch of guidance in terms of how you can go about that. So that, I'll pause there. So that at least forms sort of the four core pieces of recommendations and best practices that we have. And now I'd like to sort of quickly switch over into talking about specific Snowflake capabilities and how we've organized them that'll help you actualize these recommendations.
I love it. In the middle, I want to address a question from Sarjit that doesn't like the LinkedIn video player where we are live right now. We are also live on YouTube, so you can watch us either on YouTube, the Snowflake channel, or on LinkedIn, and we are live and answering comments on both. Uh, okay, let's look at your next slide, which is current functionality and roadmap. People
Certainly.
love
So
roadmaps.
So, broadly speaking, we've organized our efforts into these three pillars. There's visibility capabilities that help customers understand, attribute, and monitor their spend. There are capabilities to limit and control your spend. And then there are capabilities to optimize your utilization itself. Um, Now, I don't want to go over each one of these boxes here, but I know that the thing that is most interesting to a lot of customers is optimizing your warehouse spend, because the reality is, if you look at the components of your Snowflake bill, there is of course compute, storage, and essentially networking. Storage and networking are usually small parts of customers' bill, and it also has some sort of a pass-through pricing model where the cost that we incur, we almost pass that on directly. But compute, especially warehouses, are the largest fraction of a typical bill. There are also other parts to the compute section in terms of serverless services like automatic clustering, search optimization, so on, query acceleration, as well as cloud services, which is sort of like our control plane plus a bunch of things around show commands and result caches and things like that, footprint associated with that. But virtual warehouses are the largest fraction of a customer's bill, and optimizing that typically helps result in sort of the best bang for the buck for the optimization hours spent. It now, before that, let's actually sort of maybe quickly recap what a virtual warehouse is.
Uh-huh.
It is our primary compute abstraction that comes with two properties. A, it is serverless, and B, it is a scale to zero model, in the sense that if there are no jobs running, it can actually go to sleep. You're not paying anything. Once a job comes back, it can instantly spin back on and run that. It's also serverless because it's fully managed. You don't have to deal with patching and ongoing updates and uptime, etc. This is also something that comes with an industry leading SLA around 4 nines of uptime. And so this is our primary compute abstraction. Behind the scenes, the virtual warehouse is essentially a collection of virtual machines in some sort of network clustered mesh, and it can have multiple clusters too if you use a multi-cluster warehouse. And it's running Snowflake software that is kept patched and up to date by Snowflake. Furthermore, like I said, this can go back to sleep and come back, to executing queries near instantly. And so we do a whole bunch of unseen work behind the scenes to remove undifferentiated heavy lifting for customers, and that includes maintaining a free pool or a warm pool of running VMs. And once sort of work comes in, we schedule VMs outside of that free pool to actually run that work and unlock value for customers. Now, the big question that a lot of customers have is, I want to ensure that my virtual warehouses are right sized and best utilized. How do I go about doing that? So one of the things that we've launched is the stuff that is in the optimization section under optimization data, which is warehouse utilization metrics. So in private preview at Summit, we announced this capability that will show you on a per cluster level as well as a per warehouse level utilization of that warehouse as a percentage. So you can use that to make actionable decisions in terms of sizing your warehouses, especially so if you combine that with a metric that we already have, which is called warehouse load metrics. And we have a bunch of high level guidance in terms of how you can use these two metrics in conjunction to right size your warehouses based on the needs of your workload. So for example, if your warehouse is poorly utilized, and the amount of queuing that it's seeing is low, then you might want to consider reducing the number of clusters or reducing the size of that warehouse itself, and so on. So we've this is a new capability that we've announced in private preview, and we're also in the course of publishing a whole bunch of documentation guidance on this topic. The other big topic that a lot of customers have asked us is, you know I have multiple queries running on a warehouse. Presumably, that warehouse is shared across multiple business units. How do I know? Or in an ideal world, I'd like to get sort of the per job or per query credit footprint, and use that to perform either chargeback or showback models. So now what we have is what we again pre-announced in private preview is the ability to get that per job cost. We've historically provided per job cost footprint for the cloud services component. Now we're also giving it for the warehouse component. So this will show up in query history, and you can use that to essentially actualize more granular chargeback and showback models. The other capability that I mentioned is budgets, which again allows you to set spending limits. The key part is it's not just on an account level, but also you can set it uh, on any custom grouping of credit consuming artifacts. So I'll pause there to see if there are any questions. Again, there is plenty to
Yeah,
talk about on
uh,
this broad topic.
yeah, I like it. I have a comment here from Paul Sami that I want to highlight, which is he's calling out how people can do stuff on the marketplace. Surely one of the categories missing is a key core feature of Snowflake, that is your data. Imagine you can offset your cost by monetizing your data on the marketplace. Imagine that net zero cost from selling data. I guess people have the marketplace. They even get credits back if they share data for free and people use that data. They get credits back. And another question,
I was
Gilbert,
just
you
say
were going to say?
I love that idea, and the reason for that is because I touch on this in the blog post a little bit. Is cost optimization can mean so many different things to so many different audiences, and you get really creative on how to do this. Of course, we're showing folks best practices, we're showing practical ways of getting started, but that's a great example of how someone else can interpret how to actually offset more costs in cost optimization in Snowflake. Excuse me.
Yep. And I have also this comment from Isaac that's really happy with what Samarta is delivering here. Is like FinOps culture validates the robustness of these recommendations. Yes, these are important recommendations and features. And I love this comment and question from Kamala Kanan, which is we're seeing a lot that's happening here of how account admins or admins can control the costs and make things optimal for their Snowflake account. But then what happens with data engineers? Should they care about cost? What tools do they have? Is this an account admin problem or uh, things that each data engineer can change?
Certainly.
What
Let
are
me
your
let me
take?
perhaps try taking that. I think there are a bunch of things that are actionable for all personas using Snowflake, specifically for data engineers. I think Gilberto sometime back spoke about auto suspend and auto resume, which largely alludes to this scale to zero and instant on capability of a virtual warehouse. I think for data engineers, it's particularly important to know sort of the nature of the use case so that you can set that auto suspend value appropriately. I think there's an important trade-off here because when you suspend, you also invalidate caches when you go through a suspend resume cycle. So by setting that appropriately, and by intimate familiarity with your work, based on intimate familiarity of your workload, you can either choose to have your compute go away and come back quickly, or to have that stay on for just enough duration to the point where the benefit of caching is actually exploited by your workloads. The second thing that I can recommend for data engineers is Snowpark. So Snowpark is a collection of capabilities, and we also have a warehouse type that is specifically tailor made for Snowpark workloads. We call that Snowpark optimized warehouses. And in a large number of data engineering use cases, especially ones that use Python or Java or Scala for data engineering pipelines, we've noticed that Snowpark optimized warehouses have provided a disproportionate price performance improvement, especially when there is memory intensive operations, or in terms of things that mix large amounts of code in terms of Python or Java or Scala and SQL in the same workload. And so that's something to consider. And of course, the broader guidance is also applicable in this case.
Yes, and I love how you are giving visibility, like when you're giving visibility per job, uh, and that engineer can know how much they are spending, and not only that, they can know how much they are optimizing, and the observability changes everything.
Yep.
Uh, we're almost running out of time, so I want to quickly address three questions. Of course, Vinay Kumar wants us to talk more about per job cost, but if we don't have enough time, they have your full talk on available on demand here.
Certainly.
So
Maybe I'll provide a 15-second version of it. The
excellent.
per job cost is really a function of the um, compute resource footprint used by each job that runs on a virtual warehouse. A virtual warehouse could be multiple clusters, but in the context of a single cluster, it is multiple virtual machines, and each virtual machine behind the scenes is divided up into slots, and there is a resource footprint associated with each slot. So based on that, along a timeline, based on how we split out that query, we compute the per job cost as a function of the resources of that virtual warehouse cluster allocated to that job for the time period that it runs. Happy to get into the details some other time, but that's the short version.
Beautiful. And what's the warehouse utilization slide back? But instead, because this is all recorded and available after this conversation, people can go back and rewind and share with us their best screenshots, even if we look funny in our screenshot. I want to see that. And Braj is super happy. Snowflake is making things easier day by day. Really excited. And we love that feedback. We love the good feedback. We love the bad feedback. We love all the feedback because we keep making things better. And it's incredible to have leaders like Samartha in charge of this and teammates like Gilberto compiling the best practices. And we showed Gilberto's blog post today. We did a quick summary and the overview of what Samartha has for us. But there's so many more people that love sharing their tips. There are other blog posts. We have this video from David Special, how the resource monitoring best practices. This is a 6 months old video, but it's also great to go deeper inside, share more. We have great partners. I would love to call them out.
Felipe, a,
They can leave
a
their
15
comments.
second
Samantha,
um,
please.
addition.
Yes.
So I noticed lots of questions around how do I get visibility into my costs. So one of the things that we're doing is we're overhauling our UI to give you a full visibility, starting from the highest level, like your contract value, to your account, or to your organization account, warehouse, job, user, etc., in Snowflake itself. So you don't have to go build custom dashboards yourself.
I love it. And I love how you're listening to everyone's feedback and checking comments and delivering the features that people want. Any words to finish this conversation, Gilberto?
Just make sure you check out all the resources that we shared today. As I mentioned, if you go out there and Google this topic, you'll find a ton of incredible resources and wealth of knowledge on this topic. But yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in. I had a blast chatting with folks today.
Samartha, your last words.
Likewise, I want to reiterate that we're committed to helping customers optimize their spend on Snowflake and get the best value from Snowflake. And if you have any feedback, don't hesitate to reach out.
Excellent. And thanks a lot, everyone, for joining us. Samartha, Gilberto, everyone online, everyone commenting. Share this video. Go to our YouTube channel. Go to our YouTube channel. Find us on LinkedIn. Find us on the new Twitters. I'm on Threads, etc. And with that, let me start the bird playing us off. Thank you.
Folks.